Hello and welcome to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. I'm your host, Christy. I come to you from the Denver area of Colorado, where I live with my husband, Ron, our two daughters, Tatum and Delaney, our tuxedo kitty, Lilu, and our Podango puppy, Sophie. Welcome. If you are looking for me on Ravelry, I am Christy-Lael, and on Instagram, I am Christy-Lael without the dash. It is Sunday, March 6th. 2022, and I don't know if you can see through the window, but it is snowing outside. We've had some very interesting weather here in Colorado lately. 2 weeks ago, we had 3 or 4 days of single-digit weather, where we were lucky if it got to 10 degrees. At the high, and everything was super, super cold. And then last week it got up into like 69. This is of course Fahrenheit, and we were all shedding all of our winter gear and putting on capris and whatnot, short sleeves. I went to work a couple of days where I didn't even take a sweater, and then now it's snowing, and it's going to be super cold this week again, and it's going to snow in a couple of days as well. It's just very interesting to see it jump like that. I come from Southern California, where the weather doesn't change quite as drastically. There's variation, of course, but you pretty much know what you're going to get in March, and in Colorado, it's really true. If you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes, it's going to change. So it's interesting. But I wanted to record a podcast quickly because I did announce in my last podcast that Lisa at Hey Country Creations was having a giveaway, and you needed to make a comment in my last podcast video in order to be entered for that. And it's been a couple of weeks, and I wanted to make sure that I podcast so that I could announce the winner. I haven't drawn for it yet, but I will as I'm editing this, and so the winner will go right here. You need to just contact Lisa at Hey Country Creations on Instagram. I'll put that information down below, and just let her know you get to pick one thing from her shop, which is super awesome. And actually, I just got some things from her shop. Hang on. She had some really cute Valentine's Day things up, and right now she has some St. Patrick's Day things, but I couldn't help myself, and I got this little unicorn, which I think is so adorable. And then if you know me at all, you know that I really like foxes. Well, I like all woodland creatures, but foxes are especially special to me, and so I got this little fox. And they are, of course, progress keepers, and they're awesome. So I do recommend that you check out her shop and get them. She hand beads them, and she's very talented, and I really enjoy them. So as I said, I wanted to do this quickly because we are in, I guess, kind of a spring cleaning mode. We are looking to, it's okay not to give you too much information about my life, but my place has 3 bedrooms, and there are 4 of us. So Ron and I, of course, share a room because, he's my husband. And then our daughters also share a room. And then this is the 3rd bedroom, and it has been my library / craft / office for the entirety of, well, nearly the entirety of our time here in this house. There was a time at the beginning before my family moved out here to Colorado where it was also a guest room. But the kids have always shared a room, and it's never been an issue. But now that they're growing up and they really want their own spaces, and they kind of deserve to have their own spaces, and we have this space for them to have their own spaces. So It would be one thing if we were living in a 2-bedroom house, they would just have to deal with it, but we have a 3-bedroom and we have a full basement downstairs. Now, the basement has been storage for a long time, and a lot of things, as we've lost family members and whatnot, we have accumulated things, and so our basement kind of has just been a catch-all for everything. And Ron has really gotten into woodworking in the past year or so, and so he's built some shelves down there, and we've been kind of going through boxes and trying to clean it up so that we can keep everything in the storage portion of the basement, which we lovingly refer to as the dungeon, because it has... Okay, so when we moved here, Ron came down to the basement. He was here a couple of weeks before I came with the girls, and the basement is unfinished, but they started, whoever owned it before us, started finishing it, and they like sectioned off a room. It's got drywall up. It's not painted or anything, and the drywall is only on one side of the wall that they created, and there is a door that has a doorknob and a fully functioning door, but the door locks from the outside. So you lock somebody into the basement and, or into the dungeon rather. And that would be okay, except for there's these very ominous, like, black handprints on the walls, and there's some writing on the, on some of the drywall, obviously from the children of the people who lived there before. One says something like, you can come in if you behave, but not if you throw a fit. It's weird. And then the door from the house into the basement doesn't have a lock, so just the dungeon has a lock. And again, it locks from the outside. So, yes, it's just interesting. And so we've affectionately named it the dungeon since we moved here, and that is where we're going to be storing things, in the dungeon, and then the rest of the basement is going to get finished, and it's going to house my things, and be the office and any exercise equipment and whatnot. It's going to be kind of the lounging and crafting type area. So sometime, hopefully before the end of this calendar year, that will be accomplished. And so you'll notice that the background will change when that happens. It's going to be a process because, as I said, we've got a lot of boxes down there that need to be gone through and organized, and then we've got to finish it. But my whole point of that story was to say that I'm going to do this quickly because that's what we've been working on this weekend, and I need to get back down there. But I did want to record a podcast, and it may not be as quick as I thought because I've obviously just got diarrhea of the mouth. Anyway, this is a knitting podcast. I'm going to show you the things that I have finished and the things that I am currently working on, maybe some things that I'm planning on working on, and let's get into it. Let's talk about, I have 2 FOs today. The first FO I have is this totally awesome pair of socks. Look at how retro these are. This is knit out of Grundle Hot Socks Diamond Mint Merino. That's the Grundle is the brand. Hot Socks is like the line, and then Diamond is the sub line, I guess. The Hot Socks is just their sock yarn, but a lot of it is just plain stripy like Opal or Regia. However, the Diamond is these awesome funky mixed pattern socks, and I absolutely love these. They come in 250-gram balls, and I knit a sock out of each one. You can see I did not bother to match them up because I think I like the way that they look all funky, and I kept knitting forever on the legs of these, so they're super duper long, but I did that on purpose because I want to slouch them. Apparently I'm feeling nostalgic, and so I'm bringing back, at least for me, the slouchy sock of the 80s. And yeah, I didn't do any increases in here. I'm just I just kept going at my 64 stitches, and I'll just push them down like that. So I knit most of the 50. I say there was maybe 8 grams left in order to make them long like this, and I absolutely love them. I used my normal sock recipe, a Turkish toe cast on, a fish lips kiss heel on these ones, and then 1x1 ribbing with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And I absolutely love them. And I mentioned in my last podcast that I've not been able to get my hands on any more Grundle Hot Socks Diamond, and I still haven't. But I did find that they have this now. So they've kind of taken a tip from Regia Perfect, and they have come up with the Grundle Hot Socks Simila, which it's 100 grams, and it makes 2 socks that match exactly. You've got, I think this neon green yarn here is where the socks mix, where it is the in-between the 2 socks. And so I went ahead and got those because I did like the way the leg looks. The foot is pretty plain, which is fine. And then you have this nice, excuse me, funky thingy, leg here. Sorry, you'll have to excuse my fingers. I have anxiety issues, and when I get too anxious or too bored, I pick up my cuticles, and so they're kind of ugly right now, so I apologize for that. Okay, so anyway, I am eventually I will knit these up. I'm very keen. I like Grundle yarn. I wish I could get it more easily in the United States, but I believe it is a German yarn purveyor, and it's just not real common here. Maybe one day, but I found these on Etsy. I just went and did a search, and there's always somebody who's imported them in and made it available for us poor Americans to get a hold of some European things. I have one more FO, and that is my Shifty. It's done, guys, it's done. Look at it. Oh, isn't that awesome? I am so very pleased with how it turned out. It is exactly what I was hoping for when I ripped out the 8-bit sweater. I wanted something to showcase this gorgeous yarn. This is Wonderland Yarns and Wonderland Yarns and Fabulous Fibers. It's a hard word to say. And their Mad Hatter base, which is their sport base, and I have the main color, this like purple leaning gray, is Eat Me Drink Me. And then the dark purple is Phantom Wise, and all the other purple and pinks are the 5 Million Kisses mini set. And this is the Shifty Pattern by Andrea Mallory, which is meant to be done in a shifting yarn. I can't think of what it's called, but it's like a gradient type yarn, and you're supposed to use 2 different colorways of it, and so the pattern constantly shifts, hence the name. I, however, chose to do it with solids, and I think it just came out so great. The weaving of the ends took forever, but it was okay. It didn't kill me. And I just really like the way that it looked. Plus, doing it like this made it feel like it was going faster, because I got to change colors every couple of rows, and it definitely grew. I could see it growing, which sometimes can make a project seem like it's never going anywhere if you can't see the growth, which is why we have progress keepers, so that you can see, here, look, it doesn't look like I moved anywhere, but I actually grew, knit 3 inches, and so it's going someplace. I did this with short sleeves, as you can see, and I didn't make it cropped like Andrea did. I've got some pictures of me wearing it. It fits perfectly, which is always nice, because I didn't do a gauge swatch. I kind of just figured, well, it's going to fit me now or it's going to fit me one day. And that was how with me, if you're new to the podcast, I am more of a process knitter than I am a product knitter. So I enjoy the knitting more than sometimes more than I want the end result. And so this was something I wanted to make. I couldn't wait to see what it looked like when it was made. If it didn't fit, I figured I would put it away and it would fit eventually. And it does fit, so that's always a nice thing. So yeah, I used up most of the purples that I had. I've got little bits left over here and there. And I think I used like 2 3/4 skeins of the purple, of the gray rather. The numbers are on my project page on Ravelry. You can always find the information about anything that I make on my project pages on Ravelry. But I didn't have enough left over of any of the purples to save them for, a dedicated project. So they've been marked as all used up in my stash, and I have a basket over here that I just keep odds and ends in, and it'll get used as a piece of scrap yarn for like a provisional cast on, or if I got something that needs just a stripe or two of something, then I could use it for that. I've got a couple of grams of each color. So yeah, I'm really pleased that I was able to use the yarn in something, use most of it up, and have it turn out so pretty. I have already worn this to work. It was lovely. It is warm enough because it's kind of doubled, but not so hot. And one thing that I'm actually really keen about is that this is the back, and you changed colors here right in the center. So I thought that I was going to have a jog, but when I wove in the ends, it kind of hides it. It's not, there's certain spots where you can see it, but it really isn't as obvious as I kind of thought it was going to be. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with the way it came out. It was a fun knit, and while I don't think that I would ever knit it again, because it wasn't that fun, I did really enjoy it, and I'm glad that I made it. And now it is added. I can now wear it to work without feeling guilty, because I try not to wear anything if I haven't podcast about it, but I was really excited about wearing it, and yeah, I wore it during that week when it was super cold outside, so it was perfect. All right, so those are the only 2 things that I finished. Let's go ahead and talk about the things that I am currently working on. Don't have many things. I'm kind of mostly monogamous, so I've only got a few items that I am actively working on. The first one that I'll talk about is a pair of socks. My daughter's high school had a production recently, and she really wanted to go and see it. It was musical. She's very involved in the music department at her school, and so my options were to drive all the way home from work, pick her up, drive her back to the school, which is close-ish to my work, come home, come back 2 hours later to pick her up, and come home again. And I didn't want to do that on a Wednesday, so they were doing a musical that I like, and so I decided, you know what, I'll go ahead and watch it as well. And so I needed something to knit on during the performance, and so I cast on a sock, because I can knit plain stockinette in the round without having to look at it, and I can knit. I can knit it flat too without having to look at it, but a sock without increases or decreases or anything like that is perfect for in the dark knitting. And so I cast on this sock. This is basically all that I knit while I was in the show. I had the toe done before I started the show, of course, but the rest of it was knit in the show, and I kind of like the way that this yarn is knitting up. This is something that I've had in stash for a long time, and it's something I'm not even sure where I picked it up. It was something I think I bought from a D-stash, and I just liked the way it looked. It is, there's the front of the tag, and then the back. So it's casualfashionqueen.com, and the colorway is PP Hummingbones. It's a 75-25 blend, merino blend, and yeah, I don't know anything about this dyer. I don't know if they're still dyeing, but the colorway was pretty, and I saw it on my wall of sock yarn. I was like, you know what? I want to knit that. I've been, you know, a lot of the socks that I have knit in the past year or so, year and a half, have been Christmas socks or things that I needed to finish up, or something that I needed to knit for somebody else, like my mom. And so it was kind of nice to just go to my yarn here and say, you know what, which of these skeins looks like something I want to make? And this is the one that won, and I'm enjoying it. So I haven't, I'm not actively working on it, but after I finish the project that I'm going to show you next, this will be my work knitting that I take with me. It's attached to my purse each day, and then during lunch we always have about 15 minutes or so after we eat, where we just kind of chat, and that's when I knit. So I don't get a lot done on it, but I do work on it daily. This bag, I just had to show you how cute this fabric is. These are the bags that my aunt makes for me. We have kind of a deal. She sews me bags and I knit her things. And so this, I think this was baby yarn that or not yarn, that's what's on my brain, baby fabric from a quilt store, and I just thought it was adorable. I love woodland creatures, and these like 50s, 1940s, 1950s kitchen colors are my absolute favorite. You know, the aqua, the yellow, the orange, the gray, the limeish green, those make me happy. Next, and this is in another bag that my aunt made for me, another where I found the fabric and I was like, can you make me a bag out of this? And of course it's got woodland creatures on it. This is the gloves that I am making for myself. You guys recall the hockey gloves that I made for my dear friend. And I was like, I kind of need these for myself. And a lot of people asked if I would write up the pattern. So I am knitting another pair, and I am writing up what I'm doing so that I can share that. And then I am going to enjoy having a pair of gloves for myself, because, as I said, it's keeps getting super cold. So this is what I've got so far. This part will be mitten. I did make the finger a little bit longer. I'm trying to make the numbers all round. So for instance, this finger for me is 20 rows, and so I could have made it a little bit shorter, but it's still long enough to be able to use my phone, which is the point of it. But yeah, so I've got the first one nearly done. I am knitting it out of Leading Men Fiber Arts in Anne's story. Leading Men Fiber Arts are one of my favorite independent dyers. I love their sock base, and I love that they do 50-gram put-ups, which are very reasonably priced. So $12 for a 50-gram skein of yarn, which I then can make into a full pair of shorty socks or a pair of gloves. And then they also sell this. So this is their intermission base, the showstopper. I'm sorry, this is their showstopper base in the intermission put up, which is 50 grams. And then their regular showstopper is 100 grams. So, so yeah, I love them. And I picked this one for myself, partly because it was already wound. Those right there are yarns that I had set up in maybe even 2020 or early 2021 to make into tabby tug socks for myself, and I just haven't gotten to it. And so I went ahead and grabbed one of those to make my gloves because I do really love this colorway. And so, yeah, I am writing it down. As I said, it's going to be a free pattern that I'll put on Ravelry when I'm done. It's easy peasy. It's not a whole lot to it. And then lastly, and look at that, it is also in a bag that my aunt made for me, and also a bag that has woodland creatures. I do have a thing for woodland creatures, I have to say. But this is, after I finished my Shifty, I was like, I need to cast on a new sweater. Which one can I choose? And I totally ignored the fact that I have a Fargo over there that's been waiting for me for over a year to finish. It has one lowly sleeve. It's like, nope, that one doesn't exist. I need a new sweater. So I went ahead and decided to cast on a pattern that I'd already knit before. I am making the Love Note. I talked to you guys about this, I think, in my last podcast, but I made the Love Note here in 2020, and I knit it the way that the pattern called, so with fingering weight yarn paired with mohair, and I struggle with it because it itches me a bit, but I love the way it fits. And so I went ahead and decided that I would try it again with just DK weight yarn, because the fingering weight and mohair is supposed to give you a DK weight gauge. And so I had 3 skeins of some Dreamin' Color. No, I'm sorry, excuse me, that I totally misspoke. Spun Right Round. I had 3 skeins in there, Spun Right Round DK, Squish DK base. The colorway is Maybe Someday, and I just think it's gorgeous. And I could only get the 3 skeins. There was no way to get any more skeins. So I think I got them at the Loopy U, which just found out that the Loopy U is retiring. It's an online store that I frequented a lot back in the day when I was in California and I didn't have a lot of local yarn stores that were selling independent dyers. And so I would order things from the Loopy U on occasion, and then when I moved to Colorado, I discovered that they were actually a local-ish yarn store there in Fort Collins, which is about an hour away from me. And they weren't originally. They moved to Fort Collins sometime within the past 10 years. But now they've decided to retire, and so they're closing their store, and I'm kind of upset. They have every right. Of course, I don't fault them for making that decision. It's just kind of a bummer because they were around when I was a new knitter on Ravelry, and it's kind of sad. But anyway, they only had the 3 skeins. I couldn't get any more, so it was only enough to make this Love Note. And so I am making a Love Note. And you can see I've made some decent progress on it. This is a very fast knit. You knit it on size 10 needles, and so it goes really fast. It's got a very loose gauge, and yeah, it's nice and fun. So I am close to getting to the end of it. I decided to knit it with short sleeves. You have all kinds of options, but my other one I knit with short sleeves, and I really like it. I've mentioned before that I do like to have them right above my elbow. And that way I can wear them in my office as a top for the day, instead of as something that I have to take off midway through the day because I'm just overheated. And then it's originally a crop sweater. I am not cropping it, so I've got, actually, according to the pattern, I'm supposed to be knitting the short rows to give a longer hem in the back, but I think I'm going to go a little bit more. I've got more yarn. I've got still this much yarn left, which is enough to put another couple of inches on here, so I think I'm going to make it longer and not crop it at all. And yeah, so I kind of just basically want to knit until I run out of yarn. And like I said, it's got a very loose gauge. It's very airy. So it's something that will be worn over, and it's got this nice simple lace there at the front. I am, of course, alternating skeins because it is a hand-dyed variegated yarn, and so I had 3 skeins, and I think I've done a pretty good job of making sure that they all look like it looks like it's supposed to, nice and modeled and whatnot. So anyway, I should have this finished here pretty soon, and I'm kind of keen on that because I can wear it, you know, to the office a lot. The next one that I'm kind of planning, and I actually had planned on starting it at the same time as the love note, but I never got around to actually starting it, and that is the Amy cardigan by Hohi Locatelli. I'll try to post a picture, but I have a hard time sometimes with embedding copyrighted photos into my podcast. So if I can't post a picture, then that's a schematic, so you can at least see what it's supposed to look like. But it's a simple cardigan that is knit in color block, and it's sport weight, and I have a bunch of skeins of the Wonderland fibers in the Mad Hatter sport weight base that I'm basically gonna put in. So I've got these both are Marmalade, but they may even be from 2 different stores. Definitely 2 different dye lots, as you can see, but I kind of like that it makes it 2 different oranges. It'd be terrible if I was trying to incorporate them into like a solid color sweater, but because I'm trying to make color blocks, it works out perfectly. And then I've got 2 different teal colors, yellow, red, and a brown. I think the Amy cardigan calls for 4 or 5 colors. I, of course, have 7, and so my color blocks are going to be shorter, but that's okay because I'm keen on it. And it's meant to be rather oversized with lots of positive ease, so I'm not going to do a gauge swatch because with that kind of space and the amount of positive ease, it can kind of fit however it's going to be fine. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to start after I finish this love note, because as I said, I've got it all wound up and ready to go, and I just need to get started on it. And that's all I got, guys. I haven't bought anything recently, so I don't have any new yarn to show you. And yeah, I said I did say that I was going to try to keep this short. And before editing, it's 35 minutes, so I think I did pretty good. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and happy knitting. Bye.